Three Guys Analyze is sponsored by KMC Artistry. Check the description to schedule your hair appointment today. Three Guys Analyze is also sponsored by Shortcut Lawn Care. Save time, save money with Shortcut. Read the description to set up your free estimate today. Welcome to the 3GA podcast, otherwise known as Three Guys Analyze. Today, you're joined by me, your host, Matt. On the other top part of the screen, you'll have Mr. Tony Correa calling in live from the Beantown itself, Lima, Ohio. And on the bottom of your screen, you'll see the great Rick Martin live on camera this time, not just a phone icon, calling in from Chicago. All right, let's get started, guys. First subject today is we're going to talk about the burial of the Cleveland Cavaliers. It was a sad day in Cleveland and really all of Ohio. Tony, what do you think?
I wish we could pass on this topic. However, the thing that I witnessed the most was just the quitting of the Cleveland Cavaliers in that second half. They were ready to be done. They were mentally exhausted. They were ready for the Warriors to be crowned champions to get to this offseason.
Ricky, what do you have to say about the Cavaliers? At what point did you give up hope?
I gave up hope on the series before it started. I gave up hope in Game 4 about midway through the second quarter. I thought the Cavs' effort wasn't there. LeBron looked to be done. Maybe that was his hand that was like magically broken and so bad that it needed to be in a cast in the post-game press conference, even though he broke it after Game 1 and it was fine seemingly. Probably around the second quarter, thought we just came out flat and the Warriors wanted to sweep us, and they did.
You guys all touched on the team effort. I have to say I was very saddened by Game 4's really lack of effort, especially in the second half. So afterwards, in the press conference, LeBron unveiled that he had a broken hand. Now I've heard reports that it was more of a deep bone contusion. So it could have had an impact on the series. Do they still probably lose? Yeah. Tony, what do you think about the whole broken hand situation?
If he broke it, he broke it. I'm not going to question him. Just like we didn't question Jay Cutler back in 2010 when he tore his ACL during the NFC title game, just to remind you of that. Either way, I mean, LeBron breaks his hand or not, I can see why they didn't want the word to get out because he was going to make the Cavs go, and he did still. I mean, to play how he did with whatever he had done to his hand, just awesome all-around play right there. It's a shame that they can't surround him with any talent.
Ricky, what did you buy the whole hand thing? Do you believe that?
I believe he heard it. I definitely could see his frustrations and why he would. I'd love to see the picture of this whiteboard that he supposedly punched because I'm guessing it no longer is in one piece. I think he hurt his hand. I question why he came out after Game 4 to tell us that he hurt his hand. Like, why not just come out after Game 1? I mean, I guess maybe if it was affecting his shooting, he didn't want the Warriors to know that, so they played it off of him. To me, it does no, good to tell it after the series. But if you tell it after Game 1, maybe they game plan, think you're weaker than you actually are. You get kind of some Jordan flu game type thing going on where you can go out and prove how good you are with a broken hand. I don't know. I thought it was real. I thought it was strange as well.
Well, I know I was listening to a podcast with Brian Windhorst, and he was saying that it's a good thing J.R. Smith wasn't in the way of that whiteboard. Speaking of J.R. Smith, we look to next.
Wait. I think I was listening to this podcast. Was it the Bill Simmons one?
Oh, it certainly was.
They said that the difference between LeBron and Jordan is that LeBron punches a whiteboard and that Jordan would have punched J.R. Smith right in the face.
Yes, most likely. That would. All right, speaking of losing teammates for extended times, we go into the offseason, right? What free agents are the Cavs going to keep? Which ones do they want to get rid of? I have the list here. They're free agents. The great Kendrick Perkins, right, will not be on the team next year. That's a real shame. Jose Calderon, Jeff Green, Rod Hood, who was in hibernation during most of the season, and obviously LeBron James, who has a player option, which could come into play. Tony, which one of those free agents do you think we should keep or not re-sign?
Well, besides the obvious one in LeBron, I believe we should at least make the qualifying offer to Rodney Hood. Let's see if he'll at least take less money to come back, because I still think Rodney Hood has a potential in Cleveland. I think we just need a little bit more cohesion and team chemistry. However, I don't see us keeping Jeff Green because somebody's going to overpay for him in free agency, give him a 2-3 year contract for who knows, 10 to 15 mil, which is way above his actual value. And, Jose Calderon and Kendrick Perkins, I think it's time to hang it up. I think it's time to go ahead and move on and ride out into the sunset. It was a good run, though, guys.
All right, let it be known that Rod Hood is a restricted free agent, so we can offer him more money than any other team, and we can match those offers, obviously. Ricky, who do you think we should keep?
No one except for LeBron. I mean, I don't know which one of these players does anything for you. I think Tony's maybe right with Jeff Green. He'll probably get overpaid by a team that, the crazy part about Jeff Green is if he can play at not an all-star level, but near all-star level for 10 minutes at a time. And then he just goes to forgets how to play basketball for about 20 minutes. So someone will probably pay for that, thinking they can make him turn into better than what he's at right now. The other guys, though, are just Kendrick Perkins. He can go wear a suit for some other team. He doesn't really need to do that at the Cavs. Jose Calderon's way too old, and Rodney Hood is just garbage, in my opinion. So, interesting point here, because I didn't mention this about the finals, but I wanted to, is they had this graphic on the screen in Game 4. I don't know if you guys saw this, but it was talking about seasons and the Warriors veterans that they have on the bench. And so they specifically called out David West, Sean Livingston, and then Andre Iguodala. David West, who's been in the league for 15 years, Sean Livingston, who's been in the league for 13 years, and then Andre Iguodala is 13 or 14. And I was looking at that and how old we think those guys are, and LeBron has played as many seasons as David West, which I think is pretty miraculous if you think about it.
Yeah, that's surprising because David West looks like he could be 47 and working at a steel plant.
He's a dinosaur. Think he's a dinosaur. And LeBron has played they came into the league at the same time, same draft class.
Well, HGH, it does miracles. All right, so going forward.
Matt, don't do that.
Speaking of, we'll get to this later. I found out today that Lionel Messi took HGH as a child in order to get on, I think it was someone's youth team. So, hey, if it works for Lionel, why not? All right, so looking at the current roster for the Cavs next season, who they still have on contract, they have Jordan Clarkson for 2 more years, George Hill for 2 more years, K-Love for 2 years, Larry Nance for 1, Chetty for 2, J.R. Smith 2 more years, Tristan for 2 years, and a whole lot of money. Then those are the notables. Ricky, we'll start with you. Obviously, trades are going to be talked about with this team during the draft and after. Who are the guys you think are cornerstones of the team, and who do you think are guys that maybe aren't?
Well, I would say you would let LeBron get rid of whoever he needs to get rid of to get. I don't think there's a cornerstone on this team. I think that they're all for sale essentially, except for LeBron. I think that Kevin Love at $24 million a year, I think is probably making too much money to really value much in a trade. I don't think a team really would want to take on his salary for 2 years, given the output that they're going to get from him. I think Tristan Thompson at $17.5 million. LeBron can blame himself for that because he's basically the one who got Tristan Thompson that contract, but it's absurd. And I didn't realize George Hill is making $19 million a year. Is that a typo or is that correct?
That's correct. And he makes $18 million in the next year.
Yeah, I think I got these all from Basketball Reference.
Insane.
Yeah,
I mean, good Lord. So I don't know. Larry Nance is pretty cheap for what he is, so $2.3 million is not bad. Get rid of J.R. Smith, $14.7 million. Holy cow, he should give that money back.
Who is going to take that albatross of a contract? I would say J.R. Smith's contract's worse than Double T's.
No. Well, yeah, that's probably true. I'd rather have Tristan Thompson than J.R. Smith.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I really like Larry Nance. I think there's potential there. If he can learn to shoot, like make like a 16-footer, I think he can be good. I mean, work on his defense a little bit. I think he's a cornerstone. Jordan Clarkson is a guy that will shoot a lot. Those aren't always good shots, but at least he's willing to shoot. But honestly, I think everyone and anyone is in play. Tony, what are your thoughts on here? Who should we keep? Who do you just not like? And
Well, as long as we're focusing around LeBron James, we got to keep him, obviously. That's the key. But then you have Larry Nance, you have Chetty Osman, you have Kyle Korver, and then you have other pieces that you can come together and make trades with. Who's to say Kevin Love is still valuable on the market? I think he still has some value on the market, especially a team that could be in the process of wanting to tank or rebuild. I don't see you could throw in a Chetty Osman or Ante Zizic into a trade and be okay with that. I think and we'll get to this later, but I think the Brooklyn first rounder is going to hold some impact too in all of this. Depending on who we get on that, I mean that's just trade bait in essence after what is the month after, or if not, we keep him and build around him and let LeBron mentor him. I mean, it would make sense. I think that we need to definitely find a backup point guard, if not a starting point guard, and let George Hill move to the sidelines. I think George Hill could be a solid sixth man where he doesn't have to do as much work. But then you also have Jordan Clarkson, and can Jordan Clarkson possibly shift over to a two as a bench two, possibly moving J.R. Smith to a 12th man scenario, because that's about where his career is at this point. If not, trying to get somebody to take on that albatross.
all right, quickly, Tony, can the Cavs do anything before LeBron makes his decision?
No. I mean, besides taking the Brooklyn pick or using our first round pick there to take somebody other than that, you can't, because until LeBron promises you, hey, yeah, I'm coming back, or no, I'm going, you can't make any moves. This is the Cleveland Cavaliers, for all intents and purposes, is LeBron's world. Dan Gilbert's just living in it.
All right, Ricky, same question to you. Can the Cavs do anything, or is LeBron king in this scenario?
I think he's certainly holding the cards, right? I mean, I don't think the Cavs can do anything until they know what LeBron's doing. But I don't think they really have much room to do anything, right? I mean, I don't even know if they're so far into the quote unquote soft cap. Like, I don't know that they could even, like, let's say they shedded Tristan Thompson's contract. Like, I still don't think that they could sign a player on their team for $17 million a year to like, they're, you know what I'm saying? Like, they've gotten themselves into this situation where they have no cap space regardless of who they get rid of or don't get rid of. Even like if they get rid of Kevin Love, and that's like why they can't even dump Kevin Love's contract. I don't even think Kevin Love doesn't open up a spot for Paul George to come to Cleveland. Like, it would have to be a direct, like, Paul George signs with Oklahoma City and they trade directly for Kevin Love, which they're not going to do. So I don't know. I think that the best they can do is just pray at this point. I don't think they can really do anything other than that. Just hope that no other teams come available that are doing something better than the situation they're offering LeBron.
Yeah. In my opinion, if they're going to make a trade, they have to acquire draft picks because they can't take on salary. So they've got to find a way to deal with that. All right. Obviously, we talked about whether LeBron was going to leave. What can the Cavs do to improve their roster? So we get into NBA free agency. Now, a lot of this is predicated on what happens in the draft, and we'll talk about that. But top free agents. Obviously, we all feel that LeBron is pretty good, and what he decides to do will dictate what other teams are going to do, as it did the last time. So LeBron James averaged 28, 9, and 9 last year. And we talk about the teams that he might go to. Tony, we'll start with you. Who do you think LeBron's going to? Or will he stay?
I see this playing out three ways. And it just depends on what LeBron's going to value. If LeBron still values championships, he's going to go to Philly or Houston, depending on how he can make the fit work. If he's thinking about the lifestyle, he's going to go to LA. and if he's thinking about his legacy, he's going to stay in Cleveland. Those are the three options I can see LeBron holding. Now, which one is he going to choose? I don't know. We don't know. Hell, I bet LeBron doesn't even know at this point what he's going to do. But I believe that whatever LeBron chooses is going to be based off of one of those three scenarios.
Ricky, what do you think? Do you think LeBron stays with the Cavs?
No, I don't think he stays with the Cavs. I don't know that I really agree with Tony on the legacy part. I think LeBron cemented his legacy in Cleveland after winning the title. Like, I think LeBron can leave, and he would be fine I think Cleveland would be fine with it. But I think that, so looking at these odds, right, I put these odds out here. So they got the Lakers at even odds, and then they have the 76ers next, and the Rockets, Cavs are tied. And you got the Spurs, Celtics, Clippers, Warriors, and Heat. So I think the Lakers, he's not going to win a title. 76ers, he's not. That would not be a competitive team in my mind. I don't know how he would fit with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. Like, that would be a terrible decision, in my opinion. Rockets, I think that they would be the title favorites. Like, if the Rockets were able to get rid of Chris Paul and then they were able to do like a sign and trade deal like that Chris Paul did with them last year, where they get LeBron, and now you basically take that Rockets team that took the Golden State to 7 games with Harden and Paul and change out Paul with LeBron, that's a 70-win team that's probably going to win the NBA Finals. So I think that's his best bet as a championship. I don't know if it seems like the Rockets are pretty set on re-signing Chris Paul, so I don't know how that would work. So I think his second best chance, honestly, is probably go to the Celtics. But again, I don't know how that would work with their Kyrie and Hayward and all those other guys, but I don't see any really good options at this point that have presented themselves. What do you think?
I don't know. I think the options are a lot more limited than they were last time. I think if somehow the Rockets could obtain him without getting rid of Chris Paul, I mean, that would be spectacular, but they'd really have to give up a lot, probably Clint Capella, Luke Richard. I think he's a free agent. I'm not sure, but they definitely would have to alter their roster a little bit, probably give up more depth to obtain him. The Sixers, I just don't think that's something that, well, I don't know who their GM is going to be. It's obviously not Colangelo, but the proto Sam Hinkie, would they want to add LeBron to that? Would LeBron cede power to Ben Simmons, to Joel Embiid? I don't know. I think if he was able to be like a savvy veteran swingman on that team, that'd be a really nice team. But I mean, I don't know. I was listening to the Le Batard show today, and Mark Stein said he thought he might go to the Heat. So, I mean, who knows? I've heard the Spurs, but I don't know if that would work. Honestly, I think he'll stay with Cleveland. I don't know. I have this delusion where that he will play with the Cavs along with his son, like Ken Griffey Jr. did. I mean, could LeBron play for 7 more years? Yeah, why not? As I said earlier, he's superhuman in ways of his own design. All right, so
his son is amazing, by the way.
Yes.
If you haven't checked out, his son is really, really good.
Yeah.
Like, he looks like a little miniature LeBron out there.
I heard Windhorst say this, that during the first time they were in the finals, LeBron, that was actually when he was born in 2007 when they played the Spurs during the final series. So think about
Really?
that. Yes.
Wow.
So that's something
crazy.
Something to think about. All right, so LeBron, whether some teams view him as a number one, or if it's just us because we're Homer Cleveland fans. So other guys on the list, Kevin Durant, who's already said he's going to come back to the Warriors, take less money. Paul George, Chris Paul, DeMarcus Cousins, Clint Capella, DeAndre Jordan, Aaron Gordon, Julius Randle, and Jabari Parker. Obviously, with Durant out of the mix, I think the biggest guy here would be Paul George. He's the type of player that could swing a team's fortunes. Tony, who's the big get in this free agency market?
Well, I believe that Paul George, unless LeBron stays in Cleveland, I think Paul George and LeBron are going to form a pack, I believe. That's what all the talking heads say. Why wouldn't it be true? I believe, however, when you look at this, DeMarcus Cousins, he's going to be the injury risk coming off the Achilles. And it's going to be iffy if he's going to be back before the season starts. I know Houston wants to bring Clint Capella back very badly. DeAndre Jordan would be a wild card. I think he can pick up a solid, maybe a 2-3 year deal. However, someone's definitely going to overpay for him because I think he's heading into a twilight of his career. I think Aaron Gordon's going to fetch a good price on the open market for sure. I think he has potential, and I think if he has some talent built around him, he could blossom.
All right,
Without
Rick.
a doubt.
Okay. So, Rick, what are you looking at free agency? And I will add that there's a good likelihood that the Spurs trade Kawhi Leonard, so that also plays into this as well.
Yeah, to Tony's point about Aaron Gordon, I'm always nervous about good players on bad teams or stat guys that can put up good stats on bad teams. So we had enough of those in Cleveland with Larry Hughes. So I don't know about him. I will say it's very interesting. Do you guys see that the quote that Bob Meyer, the Warriors GM, had during the parade and the celebration for the Warriors championship?
Was that
they're asking so the press was asking him, or after they won the championship, he told the press that Kevin Durant could have it whatever he wanted for his next contract. And then they were asking him again about that, and they said, hey, Bob, you told Durant he could have whatever he wants. And Bob's response was, well, I was just saying that for the media. And then the media guy smartly replies back and says, well, you gave Curry whatever he wanted last year. And Bob Meyer very stupidly basically said, well, Curry's different. Curry's earned it. He's been here since the start. And I'm just like, wow, maybe Durant comes back for one more year, but that is the beginning of the end of the Warriors dynasty right there out of their general manager's mouth, if you ask me. But so I don't know. Durant's probably going to go back to the Warriors. Paul George is going to probably go to LA, I'd assume. The way I think it's going to play out is Paul George and LeBron are going to team up in LA, which will probably be a team that gets them to the second round of the Western Conference Finals at the very least. Chris Paul is going to go back to the Rockets. DeMarcus Cousins is an interesting one. Like Tony said, if he comes back healthy, then I think he's probably the best free agent outside of LeBron and Durant in this group. But you just don't know about his health long term.
All right. So obviously we just talked about NBA free agency, and I said when I introed that a lot of it has to do with the NBA draft coming up in a couple weeks. So obviously
Next week,
right? So I'll give you the top 10, and you guys can talk about maybe who fits with what teams. So number 1, we have DeAndre Ayton. Number 2, Luka Doncic, Mohamed Bamba, Jaren Jackson, Marvin Bagley, Wendell Carter, Michael Porter, Trae Young, Kevin Knox, and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Tony, who do you like on that list?
As number 1 pick, is DeAndre Ayton, I think, is the overall favorite to be taken. I think there's a 99% chance of that. It will be interesting to see where Luka Doncic does end up, because I've heard that he does not want to play for the Kings for sure. I've heard him dropping to Memphis at 4. I wonder if Dallas is going to stay in their slotted position. I do wonder about that, if they're going to try to trade out of the 5, because you wonder how much can Mark Cuban stand losing, per se, the way he operates. And then you got the Cavs at 8, who are obviously – who we're going to talk about big, as well as an intriguing is that player going to actually play in Cleveland or not? And then you got the 76ers being able to pick up another piece at number 10. When I look at the draft order, I see the Cavs at 8. They can still select somebody that can be a difference maker, but they need to make sure they find someone that can gel with LeBron and LeBron likes. Because I'm still into, like Matt has talked about earlier, I'm still under the assumption the King is staying.
All right, Rick. So Tony kind of talked about maybe who he thinks the Cavs should take. Do you have any general opinions on this draft? Are there any winners in this draft, do you think?
I'm looking at this Luka guy's team, and it seems like he plays for a soccer team. So I'd say that's probably a winner, that Real Madrid sending one of their soccer stars over to be the number 2 pick in the draft. But I don't know. I think the history's proven it's hard to predict NBA excellence from the draft unless you get a generational type player like LeBron. We need to look no further than Anthony Bennett. Is that his name? Yeah. So, I don't know. I'm kind of surprised, because all I hear about is how, this big man is dying, and you don't take centers number 1 overall anymore, and it's all about outside shooting or combo guards. And yet 2 of the top 3 prospects are centers that are supposedly can't miss prospects. So I don't know. I think the order's kind of interesting. I think that the only two teams that really have a reason to trade out of the top 10 are the Cavs and the 76ers, because they're the only two that are remotely close to winning a championship. I'd say the other ones are going to have to build through the draft like everyone else. I'd say the Suns are going to be an interesting team in like the next 5 to 10 years, depending on how this pick works out for them, because they have Devin Booker, who's proven to be a scorer, right? Like he could be the Klay Thompson piece if you want to compare him to the Warriors.
Right.
And they got Josh Jackson, which he played okay. I don't know that he lived up to quite the expectations he had, but he could be a solid player down the road. So it'll be interesting if they can really kind of take that next superstar and become the next trust the process team, since I guess Philadelphia is this trust the process team.
I know for me, I remember back when Ricky Rubio was drafted, and all the talk was about his YouTube videos of Ricky Rubio, and I can still remember watching those and looking at those really nice passes, the long bushy hair. That's kind of how Luka Doncic is for me, watching the videos of him playing against like third graders, it seems like. But he is playing in the professional league against like grown men. But he's smooth, he can shoot, he's tall, he can pass. You know, from what I've heard people say, like, he might be the guy. Now, I saw DeAndre Ayton play in the tournament, and I saw him get abused a little bit and have a little bad defense. But, you know, at the NBA, they don't exactly play defense in that league, so he might fit in well. And then, obviously, I've heard Hashim Thabit rumors about Mohamed Bamba, so that might be a stay away a little bit. All right, so –
wait, I want to touch on a couple of things too before we move off this, because so I think that it's amazing what a difference a year makes, right? Because I'm looking at your top 15 here. Miles Bridges is number 15. Okay, I don't watch college basketball as much as I probably should, but this Jaren Jackson guy is number 4. Miles Bridges is like supposed to be the best player coming in NCAA this year, and he apparently is now out of the lottery. Second interesting point is Michael Porter Jr. So this guy is the can't miss prospect that's number 1 in every single scouting department coming into college. Doesn't play his freshman season. Now he just missed the workout I saw today due to a hip injury or that hip soreness. So he's falling. So I saw the Cavs might be able to pick up him. So I'm thinking, well, you know, hey, he was touted high. Tony's shaking his head. He doesn't like that pick. And then Trae Young, who no one really heard about, is now supposed to be the projected number 8 best player in this draft because he had a good first half of the season. So I don't know. It makes me believe no one really knows what they're doing when it comes to rating these players.
There are definitely a lot of warning signs. I was just listening to the BS report, and Bill Simmons seems to think that Michael Porter will play less than 180 games his entire career due to those injuries, back injuries, or whatever. And I think there are a lot of players in this draft that have a lot of red flags. Tony, were you ever on the Trae Young bandwagon there for about 4 games?
Well, I'll tell you something about
Trae. He's got an Oklahoma shirt. I'm surprised it's not hanging up back there.
Yeah, I know.
Let me ask you this. Before Steph Curry did what he did in the NCAA tournament, who knew Steph Curry?
I think we knew of him. He was kind of like a folk hero, right?
I mean, he averaged 30 points a game, but –
well, I'm just saying Trae Young can be that guy. I think if you're the Cavs, you're going Trae Young. You have to.
Right. You know, they really
I think that Steph Curry is almost bad for this because I think people look at him and then they look at Trae Young like, oh, Trae Young can just replicate what Steph Curry's been doing, and they lose the fact of how unique of a player Steph Curry is. Like, I think Steph Curry, for his size, is like a once in a 50-year player.
The exception is not always the rule, right? And the last thing the Cavs need is another guy that plays just stellar defense like Trae Young does. Oh, wait, he doesn't play any defense whatsoever.
Well, if we're looking at that then as well, maybe we could think about Mikal Bridges as well.
I've heard that go around also.
Wouldn't be a bad idea if we're looking for 3-and-D prospects.
No. I think the Cavs will have a lot of options. I've heard Colin Sexton also. Remember, he was the man that led Alabama can't remember who they were playing earlier in the year where it was 3 versus 5.
Minnesota.
Was it Minnesota 3 versus 5 and he had like 40?
Yeah.
So, to each their own.
He compares to Russell Westbrook in my mind. That dude goes 120% all the time.
They definitely could use a dynamic point guard.
Can someone pronounce this guy from Kentucky's name for me?
I tried it earlier. Shea Gilgo Alexander. I am assuming he's Cajun, so I'll pronounce it that way. I don't know.
Yeah. You're going to call him Alexander.
I do like a draft where there's someone named Lonnie. We don't get enough Lonnies. So that's a great name.
Name to look out for, non-Cavs player. Look out for Jerome Robinson, point guard out of Boston College.
Jerome, there's a name I can get behind.
There's your dark horse in this draft.
Yeah, you watch a lot of Boston College this year, Tony?
Believe it or not, yes.
Yeah.
Well, Tony, I know you watch a lot of college basketball.
The ACC Network Game of the Week.
Oh, yeah. You're a real savant when it comes to that. All right, so that kind of wraps up our NBA discussion for the day. A lot of interesting points made by all parties, especially the man in the lime green Puma shirt. Okay, so getting to some other sports topics that have happened in the last week or so. We'll start. The U.S. Open was today. Early indications that the course is playing very difficult. So we'll see how that goes. Ricky, what do you think about the U.S. Open?
My first thought is it's nice to be reminded every once in a while that golf is a very hard sport. I think that you see these like minus 17, minus 18 scores that win tournaments, and it just, like, wow, these guys are really good. But they struggle just like the rest of us. There was a guy who shot a 92, which was pretty impressive, 22 over par. I think that's the worst score for the U.S. Open in the history of the tournament. I don't know. My favorite going into it was John Ram. I saw him play in the Masters, and I thought that guy was just going to be awesome. And I think he still will be, but I thought he was really going to do well this tournament. He's +8. McIlroy's +10. Spieth is +8. Woods is +8. Nick's like +8 or 9. So I guess Dustin Johnson has to be the favorite, right? Coming out of the first day, he's -1, tied with the lead. And he's probably the best golfer of that group. So I would say Dustin Johnson's the favorite, and all the people I wanted to watch are out of it, basically. So I probably won't tune in this weekend.
Yeah. Tony, I know you're a great golfer. I've seen you play on many occasions. What's your expert take on the U.S. Open?
I like how you comment, and you still can't beat me on the golf course. However, when we go and take a look at this, when you look at the leaderboard, I think Dustin Johnson, he's in a good spot. I think Jason Duffner's in a good spot as well. You look at Charlie Huffman, Charles Howell III, they're in good spots. Other than that, a lot of guys are sitting +3 or above. So it could turn out to be a very good weekend depending on what happens tomorrow. I wouldn't sleep on anybody within that first +3 or above range there right now, the way the course is playing. Now, however, the Scott Pierce, Ian Poulter, Rustin Henley, who knows? Dark horse could win. That's the thing about golf.
Hey, and all in all, we get to look at a nice course and see some people hit some balls. All right, next up, maybe the biggest sporting event in the world is started today, actually, with a 5-0 Russian win over Saudi Arabia, is the World Cup. The World's game.
Oh,
Tony?
I thought you were going to tell me that football started today.
Oh, no. Nope, not that one. Tony, who do you have going in here to the World Cup in Russia?
I could see Argentina making a run. I could see Portugal making a run. I think, you say Germany could be the favorite here, but I'm looking at it. Argentina and Portugal, your top two.
All right, Rick, what do you got to say on the World Cup?
That Russia won their opening match 5-0, and I have no idea who they played, so that was pretty interesting. I know that I also heard Spain fired their manager right before the World Cup,
right,
which was kind of a story, I guess. I have no idea who that guy is or his significance to that team. or club or whatever they call the teams that play soccer. I also have no idea how significant a manager is in soccer, because I feel like they just put, whatever, 11 guys out there. And how many people even play on a soccer pitch? I don't.
During play?
Yeah, like
11.
what's the numbers?
11.
Is it 10? Is it 11?
It's 11.
Okay, so I mean, I don't know. I guess you could debate how important a manager is or not, but I thought this segment got cut from the podcast, to be honest.
No, I kept it in so I could say I am heavily rooting for Germany, the motherland. Thomas Mueller, Mesut Ozil, Toni Kroos, Manuel Neuer. I mean, we're going to bring it home for the heritage. We're going to bring it home.
Where's your flag, Matt? Where's your jersey? I thought you'd be in like full regalia.
I was thinking about it, but I don't want to jinx them. On next week's show, I'll definitely be wearing my Michael Ballack.
I mean, to be completely honest, the United States isn't in it. How many Americans are going to care about the World Cup?
The better question is, how many Americans realize today that America's not in the World Cup? That is the question.
Hey, is that guy who's like spitting on people and biting people and getting himself? Is he in it still? Is it Suarez or whatever his name was?
Luis Suarez?
Yeah, is he playing? Because I'd watch that guy. I think he's
I'm not certain.
He's right up there with that guy who headbutted someone.
Zinedine Zidane. He's a manager now. He actually coaches teams.
Hey, did you guys see that video of that manager who brought a gun out onto the field in like some South American country because he was protesting a call by a referee?
Well, there are ways to go about that.
I hope that guy is in the World Cup. I just want to see complete anarchy.
But I did see the video of the 6'10" French 12-year-old. If you haven't seen that, I highly suggest looking at these highlights. He's also playing on an 8-foot rim, which makes it even more strange.
Well, that's a great comment about the World Cup, Tony. I appreciate you adding that into our conversation.
I'm sorry, I had to get it in there somewhere.
All right, Tony, I'm going to give you –
That was the best place. Not when we were talking about the NBA. No, when we were talking about the World Cup.
Yep. Not when we're actually talking about balls going in hoops.
Nope. It's a good segue.
All right, Tony, 20 seconds on the Indians. Go.
20 seconds. Well, let me tell you, the only thing you really need to know about the Indians, they play in the AL Central. They're going to win it. They got to fix their bullpen. Well, let's go from there.
Ricky, 10 seconds on baseball. Go.
Well, are they playing? I don't know. Like, is it the All-Star game yet, or in the playoffs? I have no idea where the season's at.
Okay. Well, we will go with that. That works. I will say the Yankees are looking pretty good. Masahiro Tanaka just went on the DL. Hopefully he's back by the All-Star game. But go Yanks. All right, Tony.
I will say I did go to my first Cubs game, and Wrigley Field was kind of underwhelming. So I'll just let that be known.
That is just
if you ever want to check out that stadium, huh?
I'm surprised to hear that.
I mean, it's like cool being a historic stadium, but literally it's like 30,000 people in a stadium that was built 100 years ago when people weren't as large as they are now, and not that many people came to the game. So I haven't been, but I've heard the White Sox Stadium is a much better place to watch a baseball game.
All right, Tony, this is your segment. This is 30 seconds of Tony's tirade.
Tony's tirade
is brought to you by Shortcut Lawn Care. Save time, save money with Shortcut. All right, Tony, I'm going to bring the clock up onto the screen, and we're going to time you, and you get 30 seconds to whatever tirade you're going to hit. All right, everyone can see the timer in my screen. So I'm just going to.
This week, we're going to discuss Jeff George Jr. and what in the hell is he doing? He's going to Michigan to play quarterback. They already have a 4-man quarterback battle between Shea Patterson, Dylan McCaffrey, the incumbent Brandon Peters, and incoming freshman Joe Milton. I don't understand. You have 2 years of eligibility left. You mean to tell me that the Michigan Wolverines were the only team willing to take you on, Jeff? Let's get real here. Stop acting like your father.
All right, 30 seconds. All I know about Jeff George is that he could throw the ball 90 yards downfield. And that was literally the only thing I know about Jeff George. So great, Tony. That was a great segment. That was presented by Shortcut Lawn Care. Save time, save money with Shortcut. Okay, so we have a lot of sports we just talked about. A lot of interesting ideas. Hopefully you guys learned something from that. I certainly did not. Okay, so this week in popular culture, we're really going to do a little whip around here. So, Tony, what did you watch this week in TV?
Binge watch Jersey Shore this week. Jersey Shore family vacation. Let me tell you, it's the guilty pleasure for anybody who's anybody.
Okay, Tony.
It
The
takes
only
you to
thing-
Miami with 7 of the 8 roommates, minus Save Me Sweetheart. And they get enough. And it's just typical Jersey Shore. Somehow, however, the situation is a sober situation. He, quote unquote, is under construction, according to him. And it's just the girls are a complete just shenanigans every night. The highlight so far has been the return of Angelina. And as soon as Angelina left, she made her mark by taking a shit in her pants on the cab ride home.
Wow,
What
that
more
is.
to say about such a classy show such as Jersey Shore?
I mean, I'm speechless after that, honestly. All right, this is me and Ricky's time now. We're going to talk about Westworld. Kiksuya was on last Sunday. Ricky, what do you think of the episode? This is an Akichita episode, a little bottle episode for us. What do you think?
Can we name him can we call him A? I don't know how to say that. Is it Akichika?
Akichita.
Yeah, I'm just gonna call him A. So I thought the episode was really good. I thought it was, like you said, a bottle episode, which was nice. A nice break from the usual chaos that is a Westworld episode. They still kind of did the whole timeline thing to us a little bit. I guess I wasn't quite as bothered by some of the plot holes as other people were. Like, how did he find his wife down in cold storage for, wandering around this giant building that he'd never been in, and no one saw him in full war paint. But, I thought it was a good episode. I thought it moved the plot along. I thought the scene with Robert Ford and Akichita with the bear and what Robert Ford was doing, some weird scalping thing to the Ghost Nation people that were there. I thought that was a cool scene. I know they made a lot of parallels to that, like meeting God. And, that was kind of his Ford's turning point of saying, okay, maybe you guys should be meant for more than what's there. The thing that I thought was interesting is, to me, the biggest takeaway was they kind of pitted this Akita guy versus Dolores. And now I almost think that he's the true hero or savior, and Dolores is the death bringer, quite literally. So I don't know. What do you think about that, Matt?
I'm always a fan of the bottle episode. You don't see those too much anymore outside of CBS dramas. Since season 1, the Ghost Nation has been hinted to us. We really don't know anything about them. They have weird paint, and they seem to interact really strangely with the hosts and with the humans. And this episode really cleared up a lot of that about Akichita and what Ghost Nation is doing. It seems like they're helping people rather than killing them. And it kind of told us why Maeve wasn't able to control them and him when the time came. It also talked about the connection between Maeve and Akichita, where she keeps having those dreams or memories of Akichita supposedly slaughtering her kid, but in actuality that was really William and not Akichita. Akichita was merely looking out for Maeve's daughter. So, and I would agree with what you said about Akichita being the hero, looking and taking the host to the Valley Beyond. We finally actually get to see what the Valley Beyond is. Some sort of what I would say is a storage facility for the human hosts' bodies or minds or whatever they are. But I definitely think going forward into the last episode of this season, or not the last, but I think the next one will be episode 9 rather, maybe see that confrontation between him and Dolores and at the Valley Beyond, that door, as they would say. I think it was pretty good. And I think the actor that plays Akichita is a really good actor and a lot of emotion there. And I think we're definitely rooting for him going forward.
Real quick, is William a host or a human?
I don't know. He certainly should be dead. He was shot 4 times.
Yeah. And he's 75 years old.
Yeah. I mean, Ed Harris is a bad man, but I'm not sure if he can take a slug to the chest without at least passing out for moments at a time. So that's definitely something they're going to be talking about. In the previews for next episode, they did show Ed Harris in real life outside of Westworld with his family. So maybe we get to see maybe whether he is a host or not. So that could be an interesting discussion. All right. So movies. I went and saw Ocean's 8. I'll give my quick review of Ocean's 8. The whole time I was thinking about Ocean's 11. So if that's a review, it's a review. It was basically like Ocean's 8 really wanted to be Ocean's 11, but it just wasn't as sharply written or as funny or as energetic. And I think that has a lot to do with Ocean's 8 was written and directed by Gary Ross, who would probably be the most bland of all directors. And Ocean's movies 11, 12, and 13 were directed by Steven Soderbergh, who's very kinetic, a lot of energy, very snappy. And like I said, I just thought about, it reminds me of Ocean's 11, but it's not. But if you want good Steven Soderbergh, Logan Lucky, go watch that. Music. Now, me and Tony, I know, listen to this, but I'll proffer it. Kids See Ghost, the collab album between Kanye West and Kid Cudi. Tony, what do you got to say?
I think the best song on that whole CD or album was Reborn. I think that was classic Cudi there. Other than that, I mean, everything, it flowed well, had some good lyrics in there. But overall, I mean, it was better than what Cudi's put out. I mean, with, Kanye West collaborating with him, but it's better than what he's put out since, probably 2010 maybe.
Yeah. For me, Reborn, definitely very good song. Remind me of the classic Cudi. And Kids See Ghosts is definitely the best good music album to come out in the last month. That would include Kids See Ghosts, Kanye's album Yay, and Pusha T's album Daytona, which I also really liked. But Kid Cudi holds a special candle for me for obvious reasons. Okay, so moving on. E3 was this past week, and I'm going to give you my quick rundown of my top 5 games that I saw at E3. Number 1 would be Cyberpunk 2077, the next game from CD Projekt Red, the studio that brought you The Witcher 3. Looks pretty good. Definitely in my line of liking. Anthem, the new BioWare open world game. Kind of Destiny meets Titanfall. Game number 3 be Fallout 76, which is a shared world, always online Fallout game, which looks pretty interesting. Number 4, Last of Us 2, the game by Naughty Dog and a PS4 exclusive. And lastly, Battlefield 5, or V, standing for Victory, which is the next installment in the Battlefield universe taking place during World War II. Tony, anything on that list excite you?
That list, I would say the only one I will probably play is Battlefield V, depending on if the Battlefield V versus COD debate goes that way. The rest of the games, I guarantee I will not play, nor do I have any ambition of playing them.
Thank you. Ricky, how about yourself?
No, not on that list. But, well, okay, I shouldn't say that. I'm a huge fan of Fallout. Shout out to Drew Borchers if he's listening to this podcast for stealing my Fallout at one time. Yes. Huge fan of Fallout, but I don't really like open world online games like that, so I don't know how I feel about that. We'll see. Battlefield is definitely a thumbs down for me, but that's the debate Tony's referring to, because I don't really understand the point of going into a giant 75 on 75 capture the flag match and just dying every 30 seconds. Yeah. And then one game that you did not mention that I caught my attention was the Super Smash Bros. Release for the Nintendo Switch, which I am pretty excited about. That's going to be a definite buy.
You're the owner of the Switch. That's right.
I am. I do. Yes, I have the Switch. So.
And that will be featuring every character that's ever been on Super Smash Brothers, even Solid Snake.
Yeah.
Solid character. Ooh. Yeah, definitely. I'm a Metroid guy, so that, or Samus rather, so that should be pretty exciting. All right. That's about all we have. Tony, last words on the podcast.
One thing I'm excited for, Dan Brown origin. It's going to be red this week.
Ricky, last thing.
I don't know. I've got nothing. These are always awkward for me, so I'm just gonna continue the streak of awkwardness when I say goodbye.
Week better.
I read in my notes I'm supposed to here. There's a note down here that says advertise here for NCAA football and NFL preview shows with a question mark.
Okay.
So I guess that was a question.
I'll leave on the note that hey, go watch The Expanse, and I'm currently 5 days into playing The Witcher 3, so that tells a lot about me. And that has been the Three Guys Analyze podcast with Matt, Tony, and Rick. Remember, you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, the Google Play Store, and on YouTube. And if you want to check out our own personal Facebook page and find all sorts of great stuff on there, you can. And come back next week, and I'm sure we're going to talk about some more cool stuff for next week, probably NCAA, as Ricky so pleasantly provided us with that information. And we might even have a special guest. I'm not saying names, but it starts with La and ends with Bron. You guys have a nice time, and see you later.
Three Guys Analyze is sponsored by KMC Artistry. Check the description to schedule your hair appointment today. Three Guys Analyze is also sponsored by Shortcut Lawn Care. Save time, save money with Shortcut. Read the description to set up your free estimate today.